Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I'm here today with Laura Mitre, and I want to talk a little bit about her so you guys can get to know her and understand who she is behind the scenes of this trip to Egypt. So, Laura, first off, I just want to give you the opportunity to say hi and just tell us a little bit about yourself. I have some questions for you, but just go ahead and start talking about who you are, and I'll jump in.
All right, thank you, Tracy. Thank you. So about me, my name is Laura Mitre, and I was born and raised in Mexico City. I the youngest of eight, and always been very hyperactive. So with that, when I was 18, I moved to the US, and I've been living in Los Angeles, California since. I lived in different cities too. I lived in Dallas, Texas, Phoenix, Arizona. So I lived in multiple places along the way, but never for longer than 2 years, 3 years, the maximum in other cities. So I could say LA's my home. It's been my home since I got here pretty much because that's where I feel home is.
I love that. I've always lived in the same place like my whole life. So it's really cool to get to hear of people that have lived around and moved around and have done that. However, I'm a little bit Capricorn and I do kind of like that stability of having that
Yeah.
information. But I am absolutely having fun going all around the world now as as I came over the hump of 50 years old and just being able to explore the world a little bit more now in this part of my life. It's been fun. And I know that you've done a lot of traveling. So kind of just tell us about yourself in the form of all, like where have you been? What have you been up to?
Yeah, so for me, I'm a Libra, so I'm always in the air since I was little. And I remember when I was a little girl watching TV, we had this show where, for those who are familiar with the name Cantinflas, they know this show. And I remember I was mesmerized because this character, what it did, it went around the world. And each night at 8 p.m., his show was half an hour and he would show a different city in the world, talk about the history and talk about it was. And I was just like, oh, I want to do that. I want to do that. So I remember telling my mom that I wanted to be an astronaut. I always saw myself living in the universe, living in the stars. And of course, I had no idea what I was saying, but that has been my impulse since I was a little girl. Then as I grew up and I realized that being an astronaut was kind of, out of reach, then I wanted to be a flight attendant. And so I went to school. International tourism is what I studied, where I learned about all the different geography in the world, specifically the culture all throughout Mexico. And that's where I learned different languages. So as part of the training for international business, we had to, I spoke a little bit of French coming from my dad, obviously Spanish because I grew up in Mexico. But as you know, the language of tourism is English. So I had to learn English, French, Italian, and Portuguese. So I speak 5 languages, English and Spanish, more prominent expert kind of level, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The words, tend to run away from my tongue sometimes. And so that's what I do. Then when I came to the States, it was really easy for me to, be in this bilingual culture in Los Angeles. So I became a certified interpreter, certified translation. And one of the things that kind of fell on my lap, thanks to that skill, is that I get to translate Dolores Cannon books for those of you that are familiar with. So I translate the books to Spanish. I've also done voiceover and voiceover acting, because the work that I do as an e-learning specialist is creating scripts, doing translations, doing voiceovers, and all of those things. And so that's where, the integration of the languages came in very handy. And so with that, as soon as I had an opportunity to travel, I could never become a flight attendant because the politics in Mexico was very strict. And I wasn't tall enough or thin enough to be a flight attendant. So then as soon as I came to the States, and I decided to shift gears when I came here and started with psychology, then I switched to abnormal psychology, then I switched to education, and I stayed in education for 30 years now.
Wow. Wow. You were talking about Dolores Cannon and QHHT, but you have some other modalities also.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. So let me just first say about Dolores Cannon and how I got into QHHT, because I think it's a fantastic story. I met her when I was studying abnormal psychology. One of our assignments was to go to this workshop where her and other presenters, including Brian Weiss, were there. And I remember seeing her and just falling in love with this unnatural woman. But at that time, the information that she was providing didn't really resonate with me because I was very kind of type A and I was like, UFOs, yeah. I never not believe, but never really believe. So for me, it was just, I was young and I was occupied in other things that interest me. But I do remember feeling that if I could choose my mother, I want it to be her. So that was about 20 years ago, so around 2000. So come 2018, I have a near-death experience where the place where I went and the things that I saw and everything that I lived, which felt like an eternity the time that I was there, left me hungry for knowing where I went, what happened to me, because to me, the place where I went was more real than the life that I was living here. And so with that, I just became on a quest. Every single book that I could find on the matter, I would look for it. But what happened that day is that Dolores Cannon name kept resonating in my mouth. I mean, by this time, I'm telling you, it was about 20 years before the first time I met her, and then never really thought about her or heard about her ever again. But her name kept popping in my head. So I Googled her and I find out that she's teaching this QHHT modality. I find out that they're having the class, so I enroll for level 1. And when I'm about to enroll for level 2 in Shasta, I'm thinking that I'm enrolling in the Shasta session and I'm about to pay, and it switched to Egypt for some reason. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to Egypt then. So something really magical happened there. It was meant to be and it was magical. And that's where I met. Unfortunately, Dolores had already passed, but that's where I met Julia and, Sarah, and I became a level 2 QHHT. Now, when I started practicing QHHT and me being from Mexico, living in this bilingual, bicultural world, I realized that most of my clients, Spanish-speaking clients, weren't going in the same way as the English-speaking ones. And so I thought, well, what if the difference is the script and the way the words resonate? So then I started looking for more, and I found Aurelio Mejia, Aurelio Mejia, it's kind of like the Dolores Cannon in Colombia for the Hispanic Latino world. So I took classes with him as well.
So tell me about your passions. What do you like to do? Other than hypnosis and,
So my first passion was psychology, abnormal psychology and biopsychology, because I was always fascinated how the brain works, not only on the biological level and all those connections that the brain makes when we're learning something, but also the abnormal part of it. Abnormal, when people see and hear things that are not there. Why is that? Why do some people see them and why some people don't? So that always fascinated me. From there, somehow it connected to now metaphysics and quantum physics. So then I became passionate about quantum physics because to me, quantum physics explains, and physics explain the spiritual world. So you know how some people out there say that, oh, this thing about past lives and energy and this and that, it's just woo-woo or whatever. No. If we can explain it now, and especially in this time and age, we can explain how we can connect to a higher mind with our frequency. I mean, one example is cell phones, right? They have no cords, yet you connect to anyone in the world with that. And if you study the composition of the cell phone with how our human body is composed, we have the same elements and different quantities. So why do we not give us enough credit that we are this magnificent, energetic capable, multidimensional, timeless beings, right?
Yeah.
We're made of water. That's a fact. That science backs it up, right? Physics backs it up. And water can never be destroyed. And energy, which is what we are too, can never be destroyed. And it cannot be created either. It can only be transformed to solid, gas, and liquid. That's exactly what happens. So why not believe that if we are, this physical body is made of energy and water, once it transforms to the ether, we don't stop existing. We just transform. We become spirit. And just like the air fuses all together, we become that. So that's what I'm passionate about, quantum physics, because it explains exactly how we are, what we are. And I love to say that to the skeptics because they're always like,
How do you argue that, right? I love it.
I
So,
also love,
so you're going
yeah.
to be doing, bringing people along in the astro travel aspect of this trip. So tell us a little bit about how that works for this trip for Egypt. What are you doing with everybody?
So yeah, so part of what I do too is give workshops on astral travel or remote viewing, lucid dreaming, because once you learn the different type of bodies that we are composed. Different cultures have different names. Some cultures have 4, some cultures have 7, but amazingly, they're always the same, which is the physical body, the mental body, which, it's basically our higher self, what we call in this culture, our higher self, our soul. So basically what that means is we are this physical body. This is the matter. If you think of it in terms of water that we are, so think about this is the ice, right? We're solid right now. And then you start to evaporate, so you become liquid, right? Liquid, and that'll be our energy body. That's the liquid part. And then when we transcend to become ether, which it will be the vapor in water, then that's your mental body, the part that connects with everything and anything out there in the universe. So I give that explanation of what those bodies are, and I also give you meditations and training so that you can train your mind how to focus and connect with your energy body. And so your energy body will be like your avatar consciously, right? Where you can travel to different places, where you can travel, to different locations in time and space. It could be any time and any space. So I give you training on that. First of all, explaining the bodies, then how to focus, because it's very important how to keep your focus, and then how to travel safely, how to protect yourself, debunk some of the myths of astral travel. Like one of those is that we are attached to the silver cord. And when you're astral traveling, someone, evil entity can come and cut it and then you die. Well, that's not possible, because if you're traveling with your energy body, you cannot cut off energy just like that. You cannot just cut off water just like that. So that is just a myth. Nobody has died from astral travel, and it has been very helpful. I actually work with a colleague of mine. His name is Ramiro Montaño. He's a criminologist, psychologist. He lives in Germany, and I met him through Aurelia Mejia. So we give these workshops in Spanish too. And we have this group where we are assigned a task to find people that are missing. And it's amazing to do something like that. We had this little girl, one of the cases that we just solved, this little girl went missing. Turns out that through remote viewing, we were able to see who had her, and they were able to find her. So there's some of the things that you can do. Finding missing things, there are things that you can do when you have this knowledge with you, with astro travel or remote viewing. And the other thing is, since I travel a lot too, for me, it gives me peace too, because I can come home anytime, be with my plants, with my cats. And you're amazed when people tell you, oh my God, call me. I had just the craziest feeling that you were right here. And I said, are you wearing the white shirt with blue squares? Yeah. How did you know? We're not video chatting. It's like, because I was there. Oh my God, so that's you get confirmation that where you went, people actually feel you. And
Wow.
that is because everything we learn here, we take with us when we transcend. So it's giving you tools for this life and the next.
Powerful. Love it.
Oh,
Any parting words that you would like people to know about you before we say goodbye?
I love to dance. I think I'm a teacher by nature. So if you're with me and you mention something, am I going to lecture mode? Not in a bad way, but I love to share explanations about things. So feel free to stop me. I love etymology. And just hopefully you can continue to join us because, you know, trip is one of the many trips that are coming pretty soon. There's more to come. Just stay connected. Thank you, Tracy, so much for giving me the opportunity to have this adventure with you. Thank you for the interview. Thank you, thank you. And thank you, everyone.
For the opportunity for the adventure. And hopefully all of you guys will be on this trip with us. It's going to be amazing. Thank you, Laura, for telling us more about who you are and letting us get to know you better. All right,
Thank you.
everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.